Can you hear me? Yes. Can I be heard? Am I audible?
Yes, Auntie. Thank you. You're audible.
Thank you. So the previous chapter was about meeting Sri Yukteswar, and we are going to walk straight into chapter 11 now. Two penniless boys in Vrindavan. So yeah, I would like to leave it to the Sangat who's going to share tomorrow the synopsis, because I'm sure everyone has their own perspective and their own takeaway from the book that we're reading. So it'll be very interesting. And anyone who feels that they can share or would like to share, please do the synopsis, just to recap everything that we've gone through so far, so that it gives others clarity also. Thank you, Jai Guruji. I hope I'm able to do justice to the reading. So, two penniless boys in Vrindavan. It would serve you right if father disinherited you. Mukunda, how foolishly you are throwing away your life. An elder brother's sermon was assaulting my ears. Jitinder and I, fresh from the train, a figure of speech merely, we were covered with dust, had just arrived at the home of Ananta, recently transferred from Calcutta to the ancient city of Agra. Brother was a supervising accountant for the Bengal-Nagpur Railway. You well know, Ananta, I seek my inheritance from the Heavenly Father. Money first, God can come later. Who knows? Life may be too long. God first, money is his slave. Who can tell? Life may be too short. My retort was summoned by the exigencies of the moment and held no presentiment. Yet the leaves of time unfolded to early finality for Ananta. A few years later, he entered the land where banknotes avail neither first nor last. Wisdom from the hermitage, I suppose, but I see you have left Benares. Ananta's eyes gleamed with satisfaction, yet he hoped to secure my opinions in the family nest. My sojourn in Benares was not in vain. I found there everything my heart had been longing for. You may be sure it was not your Pandit or his son. Ananda joined me in reminiscent laughter. He had to admit that the Benares clairvoyant he selected was a short-sighted one. What are your plans, my wandering brother? Jitinder persuaded me to Agra. We shall view the beauties of the Taj Mahal here. I explained, then we are going to my newly found guru, who has his hermitage in Serampur. Ananta hospitably arranged for our comfort. Several times during the evening, I noticed his eyes fixed on me reflectively. I know that look, I thought. A plot is brewing. The denouncement took place during our early breakfast. So you feel quite independent of father's wealth. Ananta's gaze was innocent as he resumed the barbs of yesterday's conversation. I am conscious of my dependence on God. Words are cheap. Life has shielded you thus far. What a plight if you were forced to look to the invisible hand for your food and shelter. You would soon be begging on the streets. Never. I would never put faith in passers-by rather than God. He can devise for his devotee 1,000 resources besides the begging bowl. More rhetoric. Suppose I suggest that your vaunted philosophy be put to a test in this tangible world. I would agree. Do you confine God to a speculative world? We shall see. Today, you shall have opportunity either to enlarge or to confirm my own views. Ananta paused for a dramatic moment, then spoke slowly and seriously. I propose that I send you and your fellow disciple Jitinder this morning to the nearby city of Vrindavan. You must not take a single rupee. You must not beg, either for food or money. You must not reveal your predicament to anyone. You must not go without your meals, and you must not be stranded in Vrindavan. If you return to my bungalow here before 12 o'clock tonight, without having broken any rule of the test, I shall be the most astonished man in Agra. I accept the challenge. No hesitation was in my words or in my heart. Grateful memories flashed of the instant beneficence, my healing of deadly cholera through appeal to Larry Marche's picture, the playful gift of the two kites on the Lahore roof with Umma, the opportune amulet amidst my discouragement, the decisive message through the unknown Benares Sadhu outside the compound of the Pandit's home, the vision of Divine Mother and the majestic words of love, her swift heed through Master Marches to my trifling embarrassments, the last-minute guidance which materialized my high school diploma and the ultimate boon, my living master from the mist of lifelong dreams. Never could I admit my philosophy unequal to any tussle on the world's harsh proving ground. Your willingness does you credit. I'll escort you to the train at once. Ananta turned to the open-mounted Jatinder. You must go along as a witness and very likely a fellow victim. A half hour later, Jatinder and I were in possession of one-way tickets for our impromptu trip. We submitted in a secluded corner of the station to a search of our purses. Ananta was quickly satisfied that we are carrying no hidden hoard. Our simple dhotis concealed nothing more than was necessary. As faith invaded the serious realms of finance, my friend spoke protestingly. Ananta, give me 1 or 2 rupees as a safeguard. Then I can telegraph you in ease of misfortune. Jatinder, my ejaculation was sharply reproachful. I will not proceed with the test if you take any money as final security. There is something reassuring about the clink of coins. Jatinder said no more as I regarded him sternly. Mukunda, I am not heartless. A hint of humility had crept into Ananta's voice. It may be that his conscience was smiting him, perhaps for sending 2 insolvent boys to a strange city, perhaps for his own religious skepticism. If by any chance of grace you pass successfully through the Vrindavan ordeal, I shall ask you to initiate me as your disciple. This promise had a certain irregularity, in keeping with the unconventional occasion. The eldest brother in an Indian family seldom bows before his juniors. He receives respect and obedience second only to a father. But no time remained for my comment. Our train was at point of departure. Jatinder maintained a lugubrious silence as our train covered the miles. Finally, he bestirred himself, leaning over. He pinched me painfully at an awkward spot. I see no sign that God is going to supply our next meal. Be quiet, doubting Thomas. The Lord is working with us. Can you also arrange that we hurry? Already I am famished, mainly at the prospect before us. I left Benares to view the Taj's mausoleum, not to enter my own. Cheer up, Jatinder. Are we not to have our first glimpse of the sacred wonders of Vrindavan? I am in deep joy at the thought of treading the ground hallowed by feet of Lord Krishna. The door of our compartment opened. 2 men seated themselves. The next train stop would be the last. Young lads, do you have friends in Vrindavan? The stranger opposite me was taking a surprising interest. None of your business. Rudely, I averted my gaze. You are probably flying away from your families under the enchantment of the stealer of hearts. I am of devotional temperament myself. I will make it my positive duty to see that you receive food and shelter from this overpowering heat. No, sir, let us alone. You are very kind, but you are mistaken in judging us to be truants from home. No further conversation ensued. The train came to a halt. As Jatinder and I descended to the platform, our chance companions linked arms with us and summoned a horse cab. We alit before a stately hermitage, set amidst the evergreen trees of well-kept grounds. Our benefactors were evidently known here. A smiling lad led us without comment to a parlor. We were soon joined by an elderly woman of dignified bearing. Gaurima, the princess, could not come. One of the men addressed the ashram hostess. At the last moment, their plans went awry. They sent deep regrets, but we had brought 2 other guests. As soon as we met on the train, I felt drawn to them as devotees of Lord Krishna. Goodbye, young friends. Our 2 acquaintances walked to the door. We shall meet again, if God be willing. You're welcome here, Gaurima smiled in motherly fashion on her 2 unexpected charges. You could not have come on a better day. I was actually expecting 2 royal patrons of this hermitage. What a shame if my cooking had found none to appreciate it. These appetizing words had disastrous effect on Jitendra. He burst into tears. The prospect he had feared in Vrindavan was turning out as royal entertainment. His sudden mental adjustment proved too much for him. Our hostess looked at him with curiosity but without remark. Perhaps she was familiar with adolescent quirks. Lunch was announced. Gorima led the way to a dining patio, spicy with savory odors. She vanished into an adjoining kitchen. So just to interject here, so like Guruji said, and this is absolute surrender, of course, you know, like Guruji said, when our logical mind ends, that's when the journey of our spirituality, our journey of our soul actually begins. And when we are leading by our soul, by our spiritual intellect and our instinct and intuition, then God really does guide us and guard us and make sure that we have what we need just when we need it. So he will never leave us hungry. I remember one day I had gone to meet him in Chota Mandir, and on reaching there, I realized I was famished. I had lunch, but this was like 5:36 and I was famished. So while sitting with him, all I kept thinking of was food. And it was not Sangat time yet. And I just kept thinking of food repeatedly. And then a few minutes later, after sharing something with me, he said, "Pakode or chai prasad pingi, pakode khaenge." And I couldn't believe my ears. I said, "Hanji Guruji," with great anticipation and eagerness. So God, Guruji, is, he listens and he's guiding us. We have nothing to fear. I always say one thing, that it is not people who make sure that we are financially secure. It is God who makes sure that we are financially secure and every security possible. But of course, in this case, it was also financial security. I had been premeditating this moment, selecting the appropriate spot on Jitendra's anatomy. I administered a pinch as resounding as the one he had given me on the train. Doubting Thomas, the Lord works in a hurry too. The hostess re-entered with a panka. She steadily fanned us in the Oriental fashion as we squatted on ornate blanket seats. Ashram disciples passed to and fro with some 30 courses, rather meal. A description can only be sumptuous repast. Since arriving on this planet, Jitendra, I had never before tasted such delicacies. Dishes fit for princes indeed. Honored mother, what your royal patrons could have found more urgent than attending this banquet, I cannot imagine. You have given us a memory for a lifetime. Silenced as we were by Ananta's requirement, we could not explain to the gracious lady that our thanks held a double significance. Our sincerity at least was patent. We departed with a blessing, an attractive invitation to revisit the hermitage. The heat outdoors was merciless. My friend and I made for the shelter of a lordly kadamba tree at the ashram gate. Sharp words followed. Once again, Jitendra was beset with misgivings. A fine mess you have got me into. Our luncheon was only accidental good fortune. Nothing by accident, all by his choice, nothing by chance, as he used to say. Kuch bhi nahi hunda ithe, ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ surrender ਕਰ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹੋ, ਕੁਛ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ by chance. It's all Guruji's choice, all God's choice. Nothing is accidental in our life. He connects the dots. Anything that befalls us, anything good that befalls us is all by choice. How can we see the sights of the city without a single piece between us? And how on earth are you going to take me back to Ananta's? You forget God quickly now that your stomach is filled. My words, not bitter, were accusatory. How short is human, we are also thankless, human memory for divine favors. No man lives who has not seen certain of his prayers granted. But it's so true that we get so blessed by Guruji, and then we tend to focus on what the prayers that are not being granted. So we become, kind of thankless. कि ये नहीं हुआ, वो नहीं हुआ, ये भूल जाते कि गुरुजी ने क्या क्या किया, हमारी पूरी लाइफ ही बदल दी है, हमें बदल दी है, पर वो नहीं हम देखते. वो देखते हैं जो नहीं दिया. So therefore, it's so important to constantly be in kind of the sea of gratitude. Let that ocean of gratitude always be flowing through our hearts. I'm not likely to forget my folly in venturing out with a madcap like you. Be quiet, Jitinder. The same Lord who fed us will show us Vrindavan and return us to Agra. A slight young man of pleasing countenance approached at rapid pace. Halting under a tree, he bowed before me. Dear friend, you and your companion must be strangers here. Permit me to be your host and guide. It is scarcely possible for an Indian to pale, but Jitinder's face was suddenly sickly. I politely declined the offer. You are surely not banishing me. The stranger's alarm would not be more comic in any other circumstances. Why not? You are my guru. His eyes sought mine trustfully. During my midday devotions, the blessed Lord Krishna appeared in a vision. He showed me two forsaken figures under this very tree. One face was yours, my master. Often have I seen it in meditation. What joy if you accept my humble services. Wow, I too am glad you have found me. Neither God nor man has forsaken us. Though I was motionless, smiling at the eager face before me, an inward obeisance cast me at the divine feet. Dear friends, will you not honor my home for a visit? You are kind, but the plan is unfeasible. Already we are guests of my brother in Agra. At least give me memories of touring Vrindavan with you. I gladly consented. The young man, who said his name was Pratap Chatterjee, hailed a horse carriage. We visited Madana Mohan Temple and other Krishna shrines. Night descended while we were at our temple devotions. Excuse me while I get Sandesh. Pratap entered a shop near the railroad station. Jitinder and I sauntered along the wide street, crowded now in the comparative coolness. Our friend was absent for some time, but finally returned with gifts of many sweetmeats. Please allow me to gain this religious merit. Pratap smiled pleadingly as he held out a bundle of rupee notes and 2 tickets just purchased to Agra. The reverence of my acceptance was for the invisible hand, scoffed at by Ananta, had his bounty not far exceeded necessity. So the bounty of Guruji's blessings far exceeds anything else. And in fact, it far exceeds what is essential and what we need and what is necessary. We can't even fathom. It is unfathomable and inscrutable. His blessings we can't even encapsulate in a satsang. It's impossible because every breath of ours is a satsang. The fact that we are sitting here and we are sharing and we are reading and you are listening, it's all satsang, but we can't share enough. It's not possible in one lifetime to say thanks to Guruji. Once he cured me of my skin cancer, I remember he said, मैं तेनू इन्ना bless करता नवी जिंदगी देती है कि तेनू तू तो मेरा देनिया नहीं दे सकती. And it's just so true when I really reflect back on that moment when my skin was oozing and I couldn't speak and I couldn't open my eyes. And he healed me and he cured me. And he said, कि तू मेरा देनिया नहीं दे सकती, मैं तेनू इन्ना bless करता है. And that's what he does with each one of us. And we can't even recount it. It's impossible to recount. So we sought out a secluded spot near the station. Pratap, I will instruct you in the Kriya of Lahari Mahasaya, the greatest yogi of modern times. His technique will be your guru. The initiation was concluded in a half hour. Kriya is your Chintamani, I told the new student. The technique, which as you see is simple, embodies the art of quickening man's spiritual evolution. Hindu scriptures teach that the incarnating ego requires 1,000,000 years to obtain liberation from Maya. This natural period is greatly shortened through Kriya Yoga. Just as Jagadish Chandra Bose was demonstrated that plant growth can be accelerated far beyond its normal rate, so man's psychological development can also be speeded by an inner science. Be faithful in your practice. You will approach the guru of all gurus. I am transported to find this yogic key long sought. Pratap spoke thoughtfully. Its unshackling effect on my sensory bonds will free me for higher spheres. The vision today of Lord Krishna could only mean my highest good. We sat awake in silent understanding, then walked slowly to the station. Joy was within me as I boarded the train. But this were Jitinder's days for tears. My affectionate farewell to Pratap had been punctuated by stifled sobs from both my companions. The journey once more found Jitinder in a welter of grief, not for himself this time, but against himself. How shallow my trust. My heart has been stone. Never in future shall I doubt God's protection. This is for all of us. This surrender is so imperative, to know that God is protecting us no matter what. Come hail or come rain or shine, come hell or high waters, Guruji is constantly, incessantly, without any pause, protecting us and guiding us and cleansing us and purifying us from our inner vessel. Like he said, andar de bartan tonu saaf karna mein. And then he fills us with his light, with his compassion, with his love. So never doubt that. It's important to have that absolute unwavering faith and trust in our Guruji and his planning for each one of us. Midnight was approaching. The two Cinderellas sent forth penniless entered Ananda's bedroom. His face, as he had promised, was a study in astonishment. Silently, I showered the table with rupees. Jitinder, the truth. Ananda's tone was jocular. He has not this youngster been staging a hold-up? But as the tale was unfolded, my brother turned sober, then solemn. Wow. The law of demand and supply reaches into subtler realms than I supposed. Wow, nice. Ananta spoke with a spiritual enthusiasm never before noticeable. I understand for the first time your indifference to the false and vulgar accumulations of the world. Late as it was, my brother insisted that he receive Diksha into Kriya Yoga. The Guru Mukunda had to shoulder the responsibility of two unsought disciples in one day. Breakfast the following morning was eaten in a harmony absent the day before. I smiled at Jitinder. You shall not be cheated of the Taj. Let us view it before starting for Serampur. Bidding farewell to Ananta, my friend and I were soon before the glory of Agra, the Taj Mahal, white marble dazzling in the sun. It stands a vision of pure symmetry. The perfect setting is dark cypress, glossy lawn, and tranquil lagoon. The interior is exquisite, with lace-like carvings inlaid with semi-precious stones. Delicate wreaths and scrolls emerge intricately from marbles, brown and violet. Illumination from the dome falls on the cenotaphs of Emperor Shah Jahan and Mumtaz Mahal, queen of his realm and his heart. The king of our realm is Guruji and our heart. He resides there. Like he said, my favorite dwelling place is the human heart. Guruji hamare agar dil mein hum basa lete hain Guruji ko, and we know that he's sitting there, then never will we think wrong, speak wrong, do wrong. And he's the Maharaja of Maharaja. He's a king of the universe, the cosmos. So enough of sightseeing. I was longing for my Guru. Jitinder and I were shortly traveling south by train toward Bengal. Mukunda, I have not seen my family in months. I have changed my mind. Perhaps later I shall visit your master in Serampur. My friend, who may mildly be described as vacillating in temperament, left me in Calcutta. By local train, I soon reached Serampur, 12 miles to the north. A throb of wonderment stole over me as I realized that 28 days had elapsed since the Benares meeting with my Guru. You will come to me in 4 weeks. Here I was, heart pounding, standing within his courtyard on quiet Rajghat Lane. I entered for the first time the hermitage where I was to spend the best part of the next 10 years with India's Jan Avatar, incarnation of wisdom. Can I start the next chapter? Because this was very short. Oops, yeah, it's not even been 25 minutes.
Yes, Auntie, please.
I mean, this is like absolute surrender, absolute belief in one's guru that we will never go hungry. We will never be in scarcity. We will always have abundance. Each one of us, I feel we will always have abundant health, abundant wealth, as much as we need, because Guruji always gives us, there's a fine line, as we know, between need and greed, need and want. And so Guruji gives us everything in our capacity that we can, kind of sambalo, that we can contain, so we don't become egotistical, that we can remain humble with. So we have our comforts, and yet we remain humble. Chapter 12 now, years in my master's hermitage. It's getting actually as a thick, I'm sure most of you will agree. Those of you who also read it, as the plot thickens, it becomes more and more engrossing and more engaging. So now I'm starting to enjoy it. You have come. Sri Yukteswar greeted me from a tiger skin on the floor of a balconied sitting room. His voice was cold, his manner unemotional. Yes, dear master, I'm here to follow you. Kneeling, I touched his feet. How can that be? You ignore my wishes. No longer, Guruji. Your wish shall be my law. Wow. That is better. Now I can assume responsibility for your life. I will willingly transfer the burden, master. So that's when we really surrender, leave the reins of our lives in Guruji's hands. My first request then is that you return home to your family. I want you to enter college in Calcutta. Your education should be continued. Guruji was always in favor also of children being educated, going to school. It's very important. That is our base. Very well, sir. I hid my consternation. Would importunate books pursue me down the years? First father, now Sri Yukteswara. Someday you will go to the West. His people will lend ears more receptive to India's ancient wisdom if the strange Hindu teacher has a university degree. You know best, Guruji. My gloom departed. The reference to the West I found puzzling, remote, but my opportunity to please Master by obedience was vitally immediate. You will be near in Calcutta. Come here whenever you find time. Every day is possible, Master. Gratefully, I accept your authority in every detail of my life on one condition. Yes, that you promise to reveal God to me. An hour-long verbal tussle ensued. A master's word cannot be falsified. It is not lightly given. The implications in the pledge open out vast metaphysical vistas. A guru must be on intimate terms, indeed, with the Creator before he can obligate him to appear. I sensed Sri Yukteswar's divine unity and was determined, as his disciple, to press my advantage. You are of exacting disposition. Then Master's consent rang out with compassionate finality. Let your wish be my wish. Lifelong shadow lifted from my heart. The vague search hither and yon was over. I had found eternal shelter in a true guru. I think that's how all of us feel who are listening in, that we have actually found eternal shelter in our Guruji. We feel protected, we feel sheltered, we feel guided. He's guiding us. Again, he continues to plan our lives ahead. Come, I will show you the hermitage. Master rose from his tiger mat. I glanced about me. My gaze fell with astonishment on a wall picture, garlanded with a spray of jasmine. Lahari Mashe, yes, my divine guru. Sri Yukteswar's tone was reverently vibrant. Greater he was as man and yogi than any other teacher whose life came within the range of my investigations. Silently, I bowed before the familiar picture. So homage sped to the palest master who, blessing my infancy, had guided my steps to this hour. Led by my guru, I strolled over the house and its grounds, large, ancient, and well-built. The hermitage was surrounded by a massive pillared courtyard. Outer walls were moss-covered. Pigeons fluttered over the flat grey roof, unceremoniously sharing the ashram quarters. Our rear garden was pleasant, with jackfruit, mango, and plantain trees. Balustraded balconies of upper rooms in the two-storied building faced the courtyard from three sides. A spacious ground floor hall with high ceiling supported by colonnades was used. Master said chiefly during the annual festivities of Durga Puja. A narrow stairway led to Sri Yukteswar's sitting room, whose small balcony overlooked the street. The ashram was plainly furnished. Everything was simple, clean, and utilitarian. You know, Guruji also believed in cleanliness, as does all gurus, because Guruji, in his words, would say, you know, cleanliness is next to godliness. Safai rakha karo, change kapde pa ke aaya karo nikol, car saaf kita karo. In one, you know, evening, in jest or in his humor, he said, "Tu na car aa jai aur dekhiye tere car de bar bade jaal ne, darwaze de bar." I said, and I became defensive, and I said, "Mere ghar ke andar koi bar jaal nahi hai. Guruji, mera ghar bahut saaf hai." He said, "Dekhi." As I went and I approached my door, I saw there was nothing but cobwebs outside. So he says, "Safai rakhi diya kar, pura safai karna hai." So the ashram was plainly furnished. Everything was simple, clean, and utilitarian. Several Western-style chairs, benches, and tables were in evidence. Master invited me to stay overnight. A supper of vegetable curry was served by two young disciples who were receiving hermitage training. "Guruji, please tell me something of your life." I was squatting on a straw mat near his tiger skin. The friendly stars were very close, it seemed, beyond the balcony. My family name was Priyanath Karar. I was born here in Serampur, where father was a wealthy businessman. He left me this ancestral mansion, now my hermitage. So he converted everything that he had, everything he was blessed with, the mansion, for a good cause, for a higher cause. My formal schooling was little. I found it slow and shallow. In early manhood, I undertook the responsibilities of householder and have one daughter, now married. My middle life was blessed with the guidance of Lahari Maharshi. After my wife died, I joined the Swami order and received the new name of Sri Yukteswar Giri. Such are my simple annals. Master smiled at my eager face. Like all biographical sketches, his words had given the outward facts without revealing the inner man. "Guruji, I would like to hear some stories of your childhood." "I will tell you a few, each one with a moral." Sri Yukteswar's eyes twinkled with his warning. "My mother once tried to frighten me with an appalling story of a ghost in a dark chamber. I went there immediately and expressed my disappointment on having missed the ghost. Mother never told me another horror tale. Moral: look fear in the face and it will cease to trouble you." This is so true. If we have fear of, say, swimming or water, we must take the plunge and we will overcome the fear. I'm giving a very simple kind of example because I had fear of, kind of drowning. Maybe I did drown in some lifetime, and that's why I have asthma and breathlessness and feeling of suffocation in this lifetime. I don't know, just a speculation. But I really dived into the water one day and my fear was dissipated. So any fear we have, we must stare it in the face and it will cease to trouble us. And we must take whatever we need to face with Guruji's blessings. Another early memory is my wish for an ugly dog belonging to a neighbor. I kept my whole household in turmoil for weeks to get that dog. My ears were deaf to offers of pets with more prepossessing appearance. Moral: attachment is blinding. So true. It lends an imaginary halo of attractiveness to the object of desire. Nice. So any kind of attachment, and like Guruji says, sab kuch enjoy karo. In the end, he always said, "Jao aish karo, kalyan kitna aish karo." So Aish karo means also to enjoy the worldly benefits, even handbags or clothes or whatever it may be. But it's a craving, it's the attachment towards those bags and, fancy holidays or whatever it may be. That is bad because that leads to misery. So the moral is attachment is blinding. So we must enjoy, but not be attached to anything or anyone. A third story concerns the plasticity of a youthful mind. I heard my mother remark occasionally, a man who accepts a job under anyone is a slave. That impression became so indelibly fixed that even after my marriage, I refused all positions. I met expenses by investing my family endowment in land. Moral. Good and positive suggestions should instruct the sensitive ears of children. Their early ideas long remain sharply edged, which is so true because a child's subconscious mind is open till psychologists say actually, till the age of 7. So up to the age of 7 are formative years, so important to put good ideas into their heads. And to, like, when I was being born, I mean, my mother from England, she was very, very simple, extremely simple. I mean, it's unbelievably how simple she was. And every time she was expecting a child, she would read the Ramayana. So I think, it's so wonderful because in the womb, then we heard words of wisdom. So it's amazing that this is how we should raise our children, not with technology, but with good stories and good values. Master fell into tranquil silence. Around midnight, he led me to a narrow cot. I am being mindful for everyone for the time. So Master fell into tranquil silence. Around midnight, he led me to a narrow cot. Sleep was sound and sweet the first night under my guru's roof. Of course, it would be. Sri Yukteswar chose the following morning to grant me his Kriya Yoga initiation. That technique I had already received from 2 disciples of Lari Mashe, father of my tutor, Swami Kebalananda, but in Master's presence, I felt transforming power. So yes, in our Guruji's presence, we do feel that transforming power. When I say Guruji's presence, I mean even sitting in a satsang or sitting alone before Guruji's Sarup, before his photograph. We don't call it photograph, but it's Sarup. We feel that energy. There's a transforming power when we share satsangs and we speak about Guruji and we sing his, when we express our obeisance to him in the form of satsangs. We are, in that, please mosquito, don't bite me. So we are, feeling that inner transformation. So at his touch, a great light broke upon my being, like glory of countless suns blazing together. I always say this, that Guruji sitting there was like countless suns blazing together. It was like the sun and the moon and the stars, all that came together. And as we bowed to him, we felt this transformative love fill our hearts. A flood of ineffable bliss overwhelming my heart to an innermost core. We can all relate to this because this is completely parallel to our emotions towards our Guruji. A flood of ineffable bliss overwhelming my heart to an innermost core continued during the following day. It was late that afternoon before I could bring myself to leave the hermitage. You will return in 30 days. As I reached my Calcutta home, the fulfillment of Master's prediction entered with me. None of my relatives made the pointed remarks I had feared about the reappearance of the soaring bird. I climbed to my little attic and bestowed affectionate glances as though on a living presence. You have witnessed my meditations and the tears and storms of my sadhana. Now I have reached the harbor of my divine teacher. Son, I am happy for us both. Father and I sat together in the evening calm. You have found your Guru, as in miraculous fashion I once found my own. The holy land of Lari Mashais is guiding our lives. Your master has proved no inaccessible Himalayan saint, but one nearby. Wow. Dunya mein raho, and while living in the world, Guruji teaches us to remain detached. So, like they say, being a monk is not literal, it's a mindset. So remaining in the world and enjoying the worldly pleasures while remaining detached. So it's not in some Himalayan saint. Guruji came in the very heart of our lives, in the very heart of the world, to teach us practically how to practically transform our own lives and our own beings. Your master has proved no inaccessible Himalayan saint, but one nearby. My prayers have been answered. You have not, in your search for God, been permanently removed from my sight. Father was also pleased that my formal studies would be resumed. He made suitable arrangements. So this is all practical. See, you're seeking God, but you're educating yourself. You're improving yourself. It's very important to make progress for each one of us. We must have goals that lead finally to service. And we must take care of ourselves. I've learned the self-care is for service. If we are healthy and we take care of our physical health, only then will we be able to effectively do Guruji's service. I was enrolled the following day at the Scottish Church College in Calcutta. I was enrolled, sorry. Happy months sped by. My readers have doubtless made the, why does he use such long words? Perspicacious surmise that I was little seen in the college classrooms. The Serampur Hermitage held a lure too irresistible. Master accepted my ubiquitous presence without comment. To my relief, he seldom referred to the halls of learning. Though it was plain to all that I was never cut out for scholar, I managed to attain minimum passing grades from time to time. Daily life at the ashram flowed smoothly, infrequently varied. My guru awoke before dawn. Lying down or sometimes sitting on the bed, he entered a state of samadhi. It was simplicity itself to discover when master had awakened. Abrupt halt of stupendous snores, a sigh or two, perhaps a bodily movement, then a soundless state of breathlessness. He was in deep yogic joy. Breakfast did not follow. First came a long walk by the Ganges. Those morning strolls with my guru, how real and vivid still. In the easy resurrection of memory, I often find myself by his side. The early sun is warming the river. His voice rings out, rich with the authenticity of wisdom. A bath, then the midday meal. His preparation according to Master's daily directions had been the careful task of young disciples. My guru was a vegetarian. Before embracing monkhood, however, he had eaten eggs and fish. His advice to students was to follow any simple diet which proved suited to one's constitution. Master ate little, often rice, colored with turmeric or juice or beets or spinach, and lightly sprinkled with buffalo ghee or melted butter. Another day, he might have lentil dal or chana, curry with vegetables. For dessert, mangoes or oranges with rice pudding or jackfruit juice. I remember rice pudding, kheer Guruji banwate hote the. I think it was Mondays. So yeah, light eating. And then our body is light and it doesn't weigh us down. And as many of you listening in, he was very in favor of, us maintaining our weight. He used to say, apna dhyan rakhya karo. Weight bhi theek hona chahiye, never overeat, never under exercise, just walk. He was very much in favor of walks. He used to say, "Ek ghanta zarur walk kita karo." It just regulates the blood sugar, regulates your sugar level, it regulates everything. It just keeps our body balanced and equilibrium. Visitors appeared in the afternoons. A steady stream poured from the world into the hermitage, tranquility. And again, speaking about tranquility, I think each one of us knows what tranquility really means. I mean, just sitting and listening through the Shabad Gurbani, no matter how turbulent we may be feeling initially, but after sitting in a satsang with ourselves even, just on our own, meditating and sitting with Guruji, our heart is filled with that tranquility. And that is what we need to obtain and achieve. I think that's the greatest achievement. Even in a world of turbulence, we need to be in a state of absolute tranquility. Everyone found in Master an equal courtesy and kindness. To a man who has realized himself as a soul, not the body or the ego, the rest of humanity assumes a striking similarity of aspect. The impartiality of saints is rooted in wisdom. Masters of a state Maya, his alternating phases of intellect and idiocy no longer cast an influential glance. Sri Yukteswar showed no special consideration to those who happened to be powerful or accomplished. Neither did he slight others for their poverty or illiteracy. How beautiful. This is how Guruji was. He was equal to everyone. His glance, his love, his compassion was equal for all. Sometimes Sangat would say, Guruji, VIP ke Sangat hai. But he used to say something so profound. He said, जो अगे बैठते ने जो VIP तुसी देखते हो उन्हां नु सुधार लांगे ते पूरी society सुधर जाएगी. So nobody was a VIP, nobody was more powerful or accomplished for him. He used to see our soul and our kindness and our humility and our humanity and our sense of kindness, हमारी nature देखते थे वो ये हमारी soul देखते थे. He wasn't bothered about our bank balances or whether we were poor or illiterate. He would listen respectfully to words of truth from a child and openly ignore a conceited pandit. 8 o'clock was the supper hour and sometimes found lingering guests. My guru would not excuse himself to eat alone, not left his ashram hungry or dissatisfied. Sri Yukteswar was never at a loss, never dismayed by unexpected visitors. Scanty food would emerge a banquet under his resourceful direction, yet he was economical. His modest funds went far. Be comfortable within your purse, he would often say. Extravagance will buy you discomfort. Whether in the details of hermitage entertainment or his building and repair work or other practical concerns, Master manifested the originality of a creative spirit. Would you like me to carry or should I read the rest? Because it's a, I'll read one more page. I hope you're enjoying it. I would love a feedback. I hope you're engaged. This particular chapter is actually, if I may say, it's endlessly long. So let me read a few more pages, just a couple of pages so that we are just on track. Quiet evening hours often brought one of my guru's discourses, Treasures Against Time. His every utterance was measured and chiseled by wisdom. A sublime self-assurance marked his mode of expression. It was unique. He spoke as none other in any experience ever spoke. His thoughts were weighed in a delicate balance of discrimination before he permitted them an outward garb. The essence of truth, all pervasive, with even a psychological aspect, came from him like a fragrant exudation of the soul. I was conscious always that I was in the presence of a living manifestation of God. So Guruji is a living manifestation of God. He was a living manifestation. Now, of course, he's all pure energy. He's pure vibration. And that is what he said, mere form nal nahi attach ho. Kyunki main formless hu. Meri vibration, meri energy ke saath connect karo. And that divine energy is within us. We just need to invoke it anytime, anywhere, any place. The weight of his divinity automatically bowed my head before him. If late guests detected that Sri Yukteswar was becoming engrossed with the infinite, he quickly engaged them in conversation. He was incapable of striking a pose or of flaunting his inner withdrawal. Always one with the Lord, he needed no separate time for communion. A self-realized master has already left behind the stepping stone of meditation. The flower falls when the fruit appears. Nice. But saints often cling to spiritual forms for the encouragement of disciples. As midnight approached, my guru might fall into a doze with the naturalness of a child. There was no fuss about bedding. He often lay down without even a pillow on a narrow davenport, which was a background for his customary tiger skin seat. A night-long philosophical discussion was not rare. Any disciple could summon it by intensity of interest. I felt no tiredness then, no desire for sleep. Master's living words were sufficient. Oh, it is dawn. Let us walk by the Ganges. So ended many of my periods of nocturnal edification. My early months with Sri Yukteswar culminated in a useful lesson, how to outwit a mosquito. Very relevant. I just killed a mosquito. At home, my family always used protective curtains at night. I was dismayed to discover that in the Serampur Hermitage, this prudent custom was honored in the breach, yet the insects were in full residency. I was bitten from head to foot. My guru took pity on me. Buy yourself a curtain and also one for me, he laughed and added, if you buy only one for yourself, all mosquitoes will concentrate on me. I was more than thankful to comply. Every night that I spent in Serampur, my guru would ask me to arrange the bedtime curtains. The mosquitoes one evening were especially virulent, but master failed to issue his usual instructions. I listened nervously to the anticipatory hum of the insects. Getting into bed, I threw a propitiatory prayer in their general direction. A half hour later, I coughed pretentiously to attract my guru's attention. I thought I would go mad with the bites, and especially the singing drone as the mosquitoes celebrated bloodthirsty rites. No responsive stir from master. I approached him cautiously. He was not breathing. This was my first observation of him in the yogic trance. It filled me with fright. His heart must have failed. I placed a mirror under his nose. No breath vapor appeared. To make doubly certain, for minutes I closed his mouth and nostrils with my fingers. His body was cold and motionless. In a daze, I turned toward the door to summon help. So, a budding experimentalist, my poor nose. Master's voice was shaky with laughter. Why don't you go to bed? Is the whole world going to change for you? Change yourself. Be rid of the mosquito consciousness. Meekly, I returned to my bed. No one insect ventured near. I realized that my guru had previously agreed to the curtains only to please me. He had no fear of mosquitoes. His yogic power was such that he could will them not to bite or could escape to an inner vulnerability. He was giving me a demonstration, I thought. This is the yogic state I must strive to attain. A yogi must be able to pass into and continue in the subconsciousness, regardless of multitudinous distractions never absent from this earth. Whether in the buzz of insects or the pervasive glare of daylight, the testimony of the senses must be barred. Sound and sight come then indeed, but to worlds fairer than the banished Eden. The instructive mosquitoes served for another early lesson at the ashram. It was the gentle hour of dusk. My guru was matchlessly interpreting the ancient texts. At his feet, I was in perfect peace. A rude mosquito entered the idyll and competed for my attention. As it dug a poisonous hypodermic needle into my thigh, I automatically raised an avenging hand. Reprieve from impending execution. An opportune memory came to me of one of Patanjali's yoga aphorisms, that on ahimsa, harmlessness. Why didn't you finish the job? Master, do you advocate taking life? No, but the death blow already had been struck in your mind. I don't understand. Patanjali's meaning was the removal of desire to kill. Sri Yukteswar had found my mental processes an open book. This world is inconveniently arranged to a literal practice of ahimsa. Man may be compelled to exterminate harmful creatures. He is not under similar compulsion to feel hunger, anger, or animosity. All forms of life have equal right to the air of Maya. The saint who uncovers the secret of creation will be in harmony with its countless bewildering expressions. All men may approach that understanding who curb the inner passion for destruction. Guruji, should one offer himself a sacrifice rather than kill a wild beast? No, man's body is precious. It has the highest evolutionary value because of unique brain and spinal centers. These enable the advanced devotee to fully grasp and express the loftiest aspects of divinity. No lower form is so equipped. It is true that one incurs the debt of a minor sin if he is forced to kill an animal or any living thing. But the Vedas teach that wanton loss of a human's body is a serious transgression against the karmic law. I think we shall now take a respite till tomorrow, if that's okay. because we need to absorb and imbibe everything that we have read. So speaking of the karmic laws, so as you sow, so you reap. So we have no right, I had no right to kill that mosquito just now, because every living creature has a right to breathe the same air. So even if it is harmless, we have no right. So it's interesting. Is there any kind of comments, or anybody would like to share anything? I think it's wonderful because we can really draw parallels to Guruji and his teachings. It's today particularly, everything was about Guruji, and it was so resonant with what we have learned with Guruji. So anybody would like to share, or shall we close for today and then meet again tomorrow with His grace? I think we're closing. Ekta, are you there?
Yes, Auntie, I'm there. And
Okay.
nobody
All
seems
right.
to be having any questions for today.
Great. I hope you enjoyed today's session.
Yes.
And then we shall continue the same chapter. It's a very lengthy chapter, and therefore I've halted it there. It's quite lengthy, so we can do 1.5 chapters tomorrow also.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Auntie. Thank you, Sangat.
Thank you, Jai Guruji. Thank you.
Tomorrow we'll have Auntie giving us a synopsis before we start the session.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Jai Guruji. Thank you.